In this edition of Southern Newsweek, the Transport Minister officially opens the Caversham Highway and says the government would like to spend more. The city's vulnerability to rising sea levels is exposed and the Mayor is calling on the government for help. And another Otago Polytechnic charity house goes under the hammer, helping the organisation get closer to its goal. Kia ora, I'm Holly Buchanan. The city's largest highway development in years has finally been opened. Transport Minister Simon Bridges was in town to officially open the multi-million-dollar Caversham Highway development, and he says the government's keen to invest more locally.
Cutting the ribbon on the Caversham Highway, Transport Minister Simon Bridges had the honour of officially opening the city's largest recent roading project. It's been 5 years in the making and has cost an estimated $45 million.
For the people of Dunedin, it's going to be a fantastic entrance to a great city, and it's going to mean for them a safer route. It's going to be more free-flowing, and ultimately it's going to be quicker for them getting in and out and around their city. So it's very exciting.
About 100 people gathered on the Lookout Point overbridge for the ceremony. Local leaders and MPs were present, as well as the heads of Downer and the New Zealand Transport Agency. They've been providing work for dozens of Dunedin residents through the project.
I'm excited to see other things happen in Dunedin, and we've just been asking the Mayor, our local members of Parliament, some of the things that they would like to see, because I think if there were projects that stacked up, we would be keen to fund them. One I'm personally very interested in is just how we can continue to create a comprehensive network of cycleways here in Dunedin.
Carisbrook school pupils were also involved, as well as local runanga who provided a traditional Māori blessing. The Mayor spoke about being impressed with the look and feel of the highway, and its quality isn't lost on the Minister.
This is the entrance into the city, and so by adding something significant here, making a better road and adding some beautification, I think that in itself is a big deal for Dunedin.
This is the busiest highway south of Christchurch, with 25,000 traffic movements every day. Travel's now set to be safer and faster for all road users. A vintage fire engine was the first public vehicle to be driven across the overbridge, linking the city's past to its future. Rosie Mannins, 39, Dunedin News.
Dunedin is making way for imported landfill waste as part of a multi-million-dollar project. The Green Island landfill is taking on more than 10,000 tonnes of waste from Christchurch, and it's contaminated with a toxic substance.
A growing sight for sore eyes. The Green Island landfill is taking on even more waste as part of a scheme between Dunedin and Christchurch.
We're expecting about between 10,000 and 12,000 tonnes of lightly contaminated land down from Christchurch, so it's contaminated with asbestos.
Contractors will be working up until Christmas as part of a 3-month project to transport the waste south. The fill from Christchurch contains traces of asbestos, but council staff say there's no need for locals to worry.
It's considered to be at a very low risk. It is in with soil. Nevertheless, the company and our environmental engineer at the landfill are taking all the precautions necessary.
Details of the multi-million-dollar waste transfer are being cited as commercially sensitive. It's also a state highway roading project can go ahead in Christchurch. Council staff say landfill levies are cheaper in Dunedin and the deal will be a lucrative one for the city.
Green Island is a landfill that can take hazardous material and contaminated land. We're consented to do so. We haven't gone and sought the business. Basically, the company has come to us. It's a commercial decision, so they've looked around and decided it was worth paying the cost to transport it and pay the landfill charges at Green Island.
The landfill can take more than 2 million tonnes of waste before it reaches capacity. Council staff say they'd rather deal with the contaminated material than see it deposited elsewhere, as they're equipped for the task. Annabelle Dick, 39 Dunedin News.
The Dunedin City Council is asking central government to step in and help with rising sea levels. A report by the Parliamentary Commissioner for the Environment shows Dunedin's one of the most vulnerable areas in the country, and local leaders are calling for immediate action.
A rising issue for seaside suburbs. A new report shows Dunedin's most at risk of suffering the negative effects of rising sea levels due to climate change. South Dunedin residents in particular are likely to experience flooding from rising groundwater.
We know that we've got some challenges, big challenges coming in the medium term in South Dunedin particularly, and in the short term really, because the June floods and what we've learned from those completely supports and reinforces what the Commissioner's findings are.
More than 2,500 Dunedin homes are less than 50 centimetres above the high tide mark, putting them most immediately under threat. Sea levels are expected to rise 30 centimetres in the next 50 years. The Mayor says action needs to be taken now before it becomes an even bigger problem for the city.
If we do nothing, we know that we're going to get more floods, more damage, more destruction, more loss, more cost. So it's about finding the most effective and economical way of addressing the challenges that are ahead of us.
The report includes 8 recommendations on addressing sea level rise, stressing that central government needs to be involved. The DCC is also calling for government resources to help in protecting the coastline. But the Finance Minister is ruling out allocating money for the issue.
I think that's a rather silly knee-jerk response really, because all that's being asked in terms of resourcing at the moment from the Commissioner was they set up a working party to look at the issues, and that's all that needs resourcing. So to say that they're not going to do that is rather silly, because sometime we're all going to have to look at it.
The Council implemented a program to address climate change in 2010. Now the Mayor's hoping local and regional councils will band together with the government to create a plan of action. Annabelle Dick, 39 Dunedin News.
Local experts are pushing for more public awareness around the growing rate of infertility. New research at the University of Otago shows southern women are experiencing fertility problems at an alarming rate, and that could spell bigger issues in the future.
Getting a handle on a growing problem. This local fertility specialist is analysing data from a recent survey involving women in Southland and Otago.
Well, we studied about just over 1,000 women who returned questionnaires to us, and it indicated that about 25% of those women had experienced infertility in their lifetime.
The study focused on women aged between 25 and 50. They were asked about their experiences, expectations and knowledge of fertility. Of those who tried to conceive, a quarter had problems doing so for at least a year or needed medical help. Colette says more women are likely to have that experience as they're leaving childbearing until later in life.
Infertility's always got a whole lot of causes, you know, from male problems to endometriosis in the woman, from blocked tubes, etc. But I think the thing we're finding is that it's becoming more problem as women age, and just age alone is a factor.
The same study hasn't been done in other parts of the country. Colette, who's also the clinical director at the Otago Fertility Service, says the topic's relatively untouched and hard to research. He says it's a major issue needing to be addressed at a public and official level.
What I'd like to see is more public awareness of the issue. I'd like to see maybe policymakers like government and things put more money into funding resolutions, you know, funding treatment for infertility. Otherwise, I see that in the not too distant future, the population will decline.
More research papers about infertility are being released at the university. This latest study has been published in the New Zealand Medical Journal. Annabelle Dick, 39 Dunedin News.
A house built by tertiary students has gone under the hammer, raising thousands of dollars for local charities. Over the years, Otago Polytechnic's annual charity house auction has generated more than $800,000, but staff are yet to reach their ultimate goal.
Seeking out the highest bidder. Dozens of potential home buyers have gathered at Otago Polytechnic hoping to snag themselves a new abode. Each year, the institution's carpentry students build a house to be auctioned for charity, in a win-win for all involved.
It gives them the hands-on, real-life learning experience, and for all of the students, it is the first home that they would have built in their life to this day.
The initiative's been going for 9 years, allowing the Polytechnic to connect with the wider community and do some social good. The money raised is distributed to local charities by the organisation United Way. This year, the charity home sold for $100,000, bringing the Polytechnic closer to its initial goal of raising $1 million.
With today's outcome, we're certainly making plans to continue it on to achieve that target. What happens beyond then, we'll know that in the future.
Public interest in the concept is waning slightly, with less people turning up to the yearly auction. But staff say that's not necessarily a bad thing.
These days we tend to see the genuine buyers, if you like, there's not as many people coming through the open homes, but the majority of them are potential buyers.
2 other houses built by students were also auctioned off, with that money going back into the Polytechnic. One home was bought by a local man who's planning to put it at Lookout Point as the caretaker's residence of a Baptist church.
We've gone with the 4-bedroom home that needs finishing off, and they appear very good value, well built, and we can soon get it finished and be in it fairly soon.
Construction's now winding down on campus until the new influx of carpentry students pick up their tools next semester. Ruby McAndrew, 39, Dunedin News.
Still to come on Southern Newsweek, history and new technology merge at the Gasworks Museum, and former University of Otago dance fellows return to the city for an international conference. Welcome back. A significant amount of funding is going into several local projects to help children learn about using computers. The programs are being run out of the Dunedin Gasworks Museum, and the coupling of history with new technology is attracting dozens of eager learners.
Staff at the Gasworks Museum are feeling optimistic about the future of the education programs. They've just received thousands of dollars in funding from 3 national organisations to develop science and technology in the city. It's all stemmed from the introduction of gigabit wireless internet in South Dunedin.
We thought, well, now that we've given people a road, what are we going to put on it? To me it seemed to make perfect sense to do some kind of digital literacy programs, stuff which would encourage kids to get making the internet, not just consuming it.
So far, several weekend clubs have been established covering Minecraft, coding and robotics. Organisers are confident they're onto a good thing, with an overwhelming response to the workshops so far.
We thought we would get 15 people in for Minecraft and 150 people signed up in 3 days. So we've had to kind of juggle a lot of things and try and get more space and more volunteers so that we can staff it effectively and make sure that we're providing a quality product.
Minecraft is similar to building with Lego, but in a digital format. It's designed to help children with visual and spatial processing, and the Gasworks itself is serving as inspiration.
The way I look at it, there's no difference between the skills that put the Gasworks together and the skills that will put the future together. If you look at the machines, they're all ones and zeros, you know what I mean? It's all one thing affects another, so it's logic, you know.
She's hoping to establish similar clubs in locations around the city in the new year. There are also long-term plans to form a Mozilla Hive, where technology startups and established businesses can collaborate. It's all to continue growing Dunedin's tech sector. Ruby McAndrew, 39, Dunedin News.
Ngāi Tahu is expanding support for its youngest generation. A unique initiative for newborns has been launched at the tribe's major festival in Dunedin, and it's just the beginning of more iwi-based early childhood development.
Exploring identity. This local baby is the first in the country to receive a Ngāi Tahu pepe pack. Hundreds of them are set to be given out each year, one to every newborn registered with the South Island iwi.
So our very first pepe pack has actually been just gifted to one of our Dunedin babies. So Kyla Russell's mokopuna.
Ngāi Tahu's not saying how much this initiative is costing or revealing the value of each pepe pack. It includes a baby's first piece of Ngāi Tahu pounamu, branded clothing, books and a genealogy scroll. It's basically everything a baby needs to grow up identifying as Ngāi Tahu.
It's more about how do we ensure everything that we can think of that supports the cultural identity and growth of that baby is inside the pack. So.
Ngāi Tahu spent about a year making this concept a reality, launching it at the tribe's major 3-day festival in Dunedin. Each newborn registered for a pack also gets signed up to the iwi's savings scheme. And with the hand-woven harakeke bassinet, pepe packs are also about improving newborns' health.
Educating our whānau in terms of how they sleep baby. So families are still sleeping babies in bed with mum and dad or with their taua and their paua. Grandparents are still doing that. And what we're encouraging is that they learn safer practices with how baby's sleeping.
The iwi's planning to develop more packs for children at different ages. It's all in an effort to strengthen the tribe for the future by kitting out its youngest members. Rosie Mannins, 39, Dunedin News.
A 3-day international dance conference is underway in the city. It brings together former University of Otago dance fellows from the last decade, and they've kicked off festivities in a fitting way.
Connecting through movement. This all-ages workshop was the opening event of an international dance conference being held in the city. The 3-day program aims to bring together practitioners, academics and students to celebrate all that community dance can be. It's also providing a forum for the University of Otago's dance fellows from the past 10 years to meet and bond.
We all can be in a room together and discuss the effects of this kind of work on community dance as a field. We represent people from all kinds of nations, from all over the globe, really, and we all have so many different approaches, and it's really excellent for us to listen to each other and find out how we do community dance.
The fellowship's been around for a decade, serving as a memorial to dancer and university alumni Carolyn Plummer, who passed away in 2003. Dr. Cuppers was the first fellow in 2005 and is still thankful for the honour 10 years on.
It's the only community dance fellowship that is handed out to people, so it's a wonderful professional development opportunity for so many of us. And I was so lucky to be the first one, and I'm so grateful to the people who gave it to me. It's just been a wonderful experience.
Over the years, community dance fellows have worked with a broad range of people, including the elderly and several hospice patients. They've also had the opportunity to work with one another, as well as staff within the university.
I've learned so much in some of the other professional opportunities that are open to you when you're a fellow. For instance, I was able to co-teach with Ali East some of her wonderful community dance classes. So we did a program called Dance in the Environment, and that has been career-changing for me.
Several past fellows are still to arrive in Dunedin for the conference. They're scheduled to touch down just in time for the first official day of talks and festivities at Otako Marae tomorrow. Ruby McAndrew, 39, Dunedin News.
And just ahead on Southern Newsweek, it's exhibition time for senior design students as one door closes and another opens. And the season of goodwill begins as New Zealand's largest Christmas gift appeal gets underway in Dunedin. Welcome back. Senior students at the School of Design are showcasing their work in a public exhibition. It's serving as the culmination of years working on eclectic projects. And while the display marks the end of one chapter, it's the beginning of another.
Providing a glimpse into the future of design. This debrief showcase is the major exhibition of the School of Design's graduating students at Otago Polytechnic. It's entirely student-led, with academic staff helping only in guiding the process. They say it's about letting budding designers take control of what they want to put out into the world.
It's always a push and pull between directing them and giving them a chance to express themselves, and especially at the end of third year, I think they're at a point where they're able to think critically about how to put on a show like this and branch out. So yeah, it's always a mixture.
The exhibition features work linked to 4 design disciplines, from fashion and communications to interior and product design. Several students collaborated on the end-of-year projects, ensuring their best work was on show. They're hoping to make a good impression on all who view it.
Within each of those disciplines, there's an individuality to each student's work where they're able to express their own creativity, and I guess they're getting themselves ready for industry as well. So they're showing the kind of work they want to do going forward. And yeah, as I said, it's a great chance for them to put their best foot forward.
The exhibition is the last hurrah for graduating students, with many leaving Dunedin to pursue their design passions. Academic leaders are looking forward to seeing what students do next with the skills they've learnt locally.
So you might be a fashion student who's got a collection here, but in 5 years' time you're working in a different industry altogether, but still using your fashion and your creative design knowledge that you've picked up over the last 3 years. And that's the same across all the different disciplines.
There's also a retail element, allowing designers to sell their work as well as display it publicly. It's about getting their first taste of making a living from a career in design. Ruby McAndrew, 39, Dunedin News.
Dunedin's top young designers have given the public a glimpse into the future of fashion. Graduating students at Otago Polytechnic showcased their styles on the catwalk as part of an end-of-year event. And there was more at stake than just impressing tutors.
Months of hard work hitting the runway. This collection's 15 fashion show was the final event for Otago Polytechnic's third-year graduating fashion students. It was a chance to celebrate and show off the result of countless hours of researching, designing and sewing.
It's a huge amount of preparation to organise collections from students and staff. The students work on it for the second half of the year, so for the second semester, and we do as well, so it's a lot of work.
There was plenty of quintessential Dunedin black adorning models on the runway, but the amount of menswear on show came as a surprise. It's being put down to the free rein students are given for their collections.
There's no brief. They have to work to a certain amount of hours and they can do anything within that. So a collection is a very broad description of anything related to fashion.
Fashion students each put forward up to 7 outfits, giving the audience a range of looks to admire. But several members of the few hundred strong crowd were taking a closer look than others.
We've got 3 anonymous selectors that don't work at the Otago Polytechnic in the audience. They're industry experts, and they're going to select 5 to 6 students each to show at the railway station next March for ID Dunedin and railway station show.
Many students are also planning to enter next year's ID International Emerging Designer Awards. There are 22 third-year students, some of whom are also planning on doing the Polytechnic's first fashion honours course next year. Ruby McAndrew, 39, Dunedin News.
A local PhD student is doing her part to support the conservation of whales. Her final research project is looking at managing the expectations and regulations around whale watching, and she's calling for public input.
Combining a love of conservation with a passion for communication, this University of Otago student is exploring the best way to communicate scientific research to the public. She's looking into perceptions of whale watching and the expectations people have, in an effort to improve the experience.
Well, New Zealand being one of the wildlife countries for people to come to, there's lots of tourism of course happening, and whether it's a penguin or whale or an albatross, the same ideas are, in terms of how can we have people view them in a responsible kind of a way and in a good way for everyone.
Over the past few months she's been engaging with experts within the whale watching community. Now she's hoping to survey locals to better gauge public perception of the tourist activity.
I'd love to get people's feedback who have never been whale watching before, who would like to go, and who are happy to have a look at a short video that we produced as a means of communicating science better to the general public, and see what they think about it and how they would feel about the video, but also about aspects of whale watching if they were to go.
She's hoping to figure out ways of managing whale watchers' expectations while simplifying associated rules and regulations. Her study's also about building public engagement around science and making people feel included.
We have to make science relevant to people's lives, and we have to connect people with that. And that's not the head that's doing that, that's the heart that's doing it. And I think if we care about something, we tend to look after it. That's a human characteristic, and I think that's where we have to go in terms of communication.
She's heading to San Francisco next month to present her research to academics in similar fields. After finishing her PhD, she's aiming to continue with conservation-based communication projects. Ruby McAndrew, 39, Dunedin News.
And finally, the country's largest annual Christmas gift appeal is underway in the city. Kmart has been running its Wishing Tree appeal for 21 years, collecting hundreds of thousands of presents for children. And some new initiatives are helping to boost the local contribution.
Going all in with gift giving. The annual Kmart Wishing Tree appeal has begun once again in the city, ensuring less fortunate families enjoy Christmas. Presents are being collected over the next few weeks for distribution by the Salvation Army, and staff involved say the public support has been steadily increasing.
I think the first year that I did it, it was about 500 gifts, and then now we're up to 3,500. So it's grown immensely over that 10-year period that I've been involved. And dare I say it, I'll probably be back here next year doing it again.
Local collectors are hoping for a modest increase on last year's number of gifts, aiming for 3,600. It's not just new toys being placed under the tree, with some donors getting crafty. And one contribution in particular is continuing to overwhelm organisers.
We've got one very, very generous family that the last 3 years they have donated like at least 100 wooden toys that they've made, and they are beautiful. They wish to remain anonymous, so it's quite hard. We'd like to be able to thank them more publicly, but got to respect their wishes.
Throughout the collection period, all Kmart stores around the country will be keeping tabs on their fundraising efforts. Dunedin usually stacks up pretty well, and big things are expected this year. The local appeal's being bolstered by a series of school performances to capture more public attention.
The schools are phenomenal coming in. As you saw, we had North East Valley Normal School doing their kapahaka performance. We had 2 daycares. George Street Normal School are coming in on the 10th of December with their kapahaka. Next day they're coming in with their Pacifica group. So yeah, it's just amazing. We're really, really lucky.
Gifts can be left under the tree at Kmart right up until Christmas Eve. Then they'll be bringing festive cheer to thousands of children throughout the region. Ruby McAndrew, 39, Dunedin News.
And that's all for this edition of Southern Newsweek. Please do visit our website dunedintv.co.nz, where you can download Southern Newsweek and watch individual clips of 39 Dunedin News or webcast the show. I'm Holly Buchanan. Thanks for watching.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.